Welcome to the Write Publish Market podcast. If you're a business owner thinking a book would be a great marketing asset for your business, you're in the right place. Maybe you've already committed, even better. I'm your host, Jodi Brandon, book publishing strategist and partner for business owners, CEOs, and entrepreneurs, and 20-plus year veteran of the book publishing industry. On the Write Publish Market podcast, in addition to learning from me and other industry experts, you'll hear from other business owners about their experiences as we explore all facets of writing, publishing, and marketing a book that will help your business grow in ways you might not even be dreaming of yet. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. Our guest today is Nailah Harvey, a 10 times published author, book coach, and book editor mentioned in the New York Times with a goal to teach educators and leaders how to organize their subject matter knowledge into a thought leadership book. With more than 10 years of dedicated writing and teaching experience in both America and South Korea, Nailah has secured her position within a niche not often occupied by women of color, and she seeks to share with the world her superpower, the ability to write one's expertise with clarity. And we are lucky to have her here today. Nailah, welcome. I'm so happy to talk to you today.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So I've recorded your professional intro, all buttoned up, but give us the quick and dirty, who you are, what you do, who you serve, all the things real quick.
Got it. Okay. Nailah Harvey is the name. I am a book editor and book coach. I am also very, very, very interested in helping leaders organize their expertise into subject matter books. So that is me in a nutshell. I've always been into writing and I'm a doctoral student now. So my writing has been bumped up a little bit and I'm just here to help people bring their ideas to life. Honestly, that's my goal outside of loving the holiday season, loving red velvet cake, all of those things.
Love it. Yeah.
I'm just a lover of writing.
That's fantastic. And we're talking today about your book journey. And your book title has been one of my favorites forever and ever and ever. I don't know if I told you this when I reached out to invite you onto the podcast, but your book came back into my, it came back into my sphere. And I was like, oh, I love that book title. And then I ordered the book and then Amazon was like, you already own this book. And I was like, I do already own this book. I had read it when it first came out. And I was like, that's why the title sounds so, it's so memorable though. So we're talking about book fluence. So give us the backstory, the origin story. How did this book come to be?
First of all, thank you for supporting. And yes, the backstory, the book origin, buckle up. It's a little bit of a ride.
Love it. Isn't it always?
Always, right. This is the writer's life, right? Yeah. So I've been writing all of my life. So that's really the origin. Ever since I was little, I was writing notes around the house. My mom has a lot of my letters. I would write her things like, hey, I had a good day at school today. And she's like, you could have just told me that, but okay. Yeah, so I've been that kid that was always writing. But my official book journey started when I was living overseas and teaching in South Korea. I would receive lots of messages. Yeah, lots of messages about, my experience. A lot of my family and my friends, they would ask how is this and how is that? What's going on? And my mom, she bought me a journal before I left and I called it my SoCo diary. So SoCo for South Korea. And ever since she bought it for me, I kept it very sacred. And I said, well, I don't want to share everything in this diary or in this journal, but if I can share a little bit and also answer everyone's questions in one book, that would kind of save me some time and also help me sort of save this moment. So that's what I did. I collected everyone's questions and I also pulled out some pages from my journal, my diary, my SoCo diary. And I wrote my first book when I was living in South Korea. And it sort of kept going from then. It is called SoCo Diaries, an American teacher living in South Korea. And, talked about my experience. And then I realized one chapter in that book is titled Culture Shock. And everybody said that was their favorite chapter. They're like, we want to know the differences between America and Southeast Asia. What are some of the, what are some things that we can look out for? So I decided for my next book, that gave me the idea for my next book. I wasn't really looking to write another book. I thought one and done. I was good. So my next book is titled SoCo Diaries Culture Shock. So it became a series. It was specifically the differences, And then when I came back, yes. So it's my book gave me the idea for the next book and I listened to my audience. So that's a nugget there. But when I came back to the States, for whatever reason, I had immediate reverse culture shock. And mind you, I'm from Los Angeles, California. Like I was born and raised in the US, but it just was different, you know? So my third book in that series was SoCo Diaries, Reverse Culture Shock. And I'm saying all of this for a reason. Like my experience led to the next book. But I also noticed that I developed a little bit of a framework in writing my book. Like I had the same process in writing the book, and that's what helped me get the book writing process a little bit faster. I didn't have the language for it back then because my first book was published in 2013. You know, I was just like, okay, I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. But then I got wise. I said, oh, this is a process. This is a framework. So yeah, that led to just me sort of honing my craft. I decided that I wanted to move on and try fiction writing. So I tried my hand at a short story. And I liked it. I really did. But I said, okay, short story is not really my best work. So I went back into nonfiction. I went back into nonfiction with my book, Chapter 30, How to Make Less Regretful Decisions in Your 20s. The title says it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dropped it like maybe a couple of weeks after my 30th birthday. And then it hit me. I said, Nailah, you have something here. You're writing these books faster and the process is a little bit more streamlined. So I continued with my same framework. Again, I didn't have the knowledge back then or the language back then. And then I enrolled in school, my second master's program when I turned 30, my 30th year. And I said, okay, writing a book and teaching English is one thing. Getting back into school after being out for years and writing college papers, boy.
I bet.
I'm like, okay, I am researching how to use commas properly all of a sudden, you know, like all of a sudden I'm heavy into research with punctuation and things just to make sure that my papers are as best as they can be. And that led me to thinking, if I'm going through that as a returning student, a college student, a grad student, then surely there are others. And that's when I wrote my book, Look Better in Writing, a quick and easy guide to punctuation. And the magic started to happen. I realized, okay, I have a knack for writing. And when people started to ask me, how do you write these books so fast? And how do you write these books just in general? I said, oh, okay, let's teach educators and leaders how to write a book so they can expand their influence. And then Bookfluence came about, and that's where we are today.
Wow. That is, first of all, my college roommate just went back to school after being out for 20 plus years. And she is having a hard time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to get that book for her, first of all. But it's a totally different world. Even mindset, right? Once you've been out of something for a while, I bet you find that I find that with my book writing clients too. They're not as used to like a daily writing habit or anything like that. So it's just, Oh, wow. And I got to read the SoCo series. That sounds amazing. What an amazing experience and opportunity in and of itself. But then that it led to all of these other, light bulbs going off and, you getting the language of the framework. Isn't that funny? Amazing. Okay.
I tell people all the time, South Korea really changed my life because it changed my career trajectory. I thought I was going to just be a teacher, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love teaching, but I didn't see any other stream of income. I didn't see any other, role. I just saw teaching and teaching in the classroom specifically. And then my mind has been expanded since then because I'm still teaching my clients how to write a book and how to, expand their influence. I'm just not traditionally in the classroom right now, but still teaching, still educating.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, it was that experience that allowed me to leverage other experiences and just to really, really hone my creative side. I never thought it was possible for me to write a book as much as I loved writing. I don't know why. I just thought it was just this big, task that I couldn't get to in my lifetime for whatever reason. Yeah. And it took me a few months to figure it out. Now, it wasn't easy, but it took me a few months to just go for it. I made mistakes along the way. It was not perfect, but I did it, and that was, I got to give credit to, of course, loved ones and my support system, but also being away from my comfort zone, like being in Asia by myself.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Culture shock, right? Like you said, in every way. Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I'm amazed. I mean, this is a little segue away from the book for a second, but I'm amazed every day at how much education there is involved in, like in what we do, book coaching, book strategy, all of that. My siblings tease me all the time because my sister is a teacher, a middle school teacher. And I say all the time, I'm like, I could never. And then as I moved away from copy editing into more book coaching, she's like, hello, you are an educator. And I'm like, oh, yeah. But yeah, not in the traditional sense. So, yeah.
We still educate, we still guide.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely. No. Education, it's a huge part of your world too. On the flip side too. I mean, 2 masters and now you're a doctoral student. I mean, that's... Yeah, that's deep in there. It's
yes. Apparently, I can't get enough of it. I thought that I was done, and then I said, you know what? Let's go back and put myself through more agony by writing all of these papers, and then writing the biggest paper of my lifetime, which is my dissertation.
Yeah, no pressure.
So no pressure.
Yeah. What's your dissertation about? What's the topic?
Here we go. It's all about developing writers, and it's all about writing literacy. My dissertation topic is the writing literacy for Black high school students as it pertains to like the college entrance exams. So I want to kind of like, close that achievement gap for writers so that they can enter college successfully. So it's all about, I'm still writing it. Like it all aligns.
Yeah.
It's crazy how the book journey and how your author journey and how your writing journey, it all aligns.
Hey there, business owner and aspiring or published author. Sorry to interrupt this episode. Just wanted to check in and see if you're subscribed to Coffee and Commas, my email newsletter, where I share behind the scenes, industry info, and much more about writing, publishing, and marketing a book for your business. Sign up at bit.ly/coffee and commas sign up. That's all lowercase. Now back to the show.
Yeah, that sounds like something I'd like to read though, which is not always the case when somebody's talking about a dissertation. Let's be real.
That is the biggest compliment. So thank you.
Yeah, no, writing, literacy, all of that, I think we're all under the same umbrella. So
that's it.
Everyone in your world probably wants to read that. So, okay. So let's talk about the pieces that we liked and didn't like with writing, book fluence, or just in general. Because I think sometimes people, they either come in with those rose-colored glasses that like, oh, I've been a writer my whole life, this is going to be so easy, or, oh, this is going to be the hardest thing ever. And there's good and bad, and everybody has different things that they like and don't like. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Ooh, okay. First of all, let me dispel the myth. Writing a book is not particularly easy, but it is simple. If you have a good process, if you have a good experienced coach, if you choose to have a coach, there are ways to make it simple, but it is not easy. You are organizing your thoughts and your ideas so other people can understand them and learn from them. And sometimes what we have in our head, it is not all the way coherent. So, it is something that is a skill as well as an art. And I think that even in that, I still enjoy it. And my favorite thing about it is editing. I'll be honest. I love editing. I love polishing words, refining words. But the difficulty for me in the writing process is, speaking of editing, is taking out things that I feel like will be necessary. I'm like, this is going to be great. I feel like this is going to be, the point that is going to really turn some heads. And this is going to be something that I should add. And then I, as an editor, have to pass my work on or off to another editor. Yeah. Because even though I have the skill set, I still need someone else to refine my work. So for me, that's difficult because I feel like I can do it all. And the thing is, in this game, in this writing game, you can do it all, but professionally, you should not do it all. Yes. You really shouldn't, especially when it comes to editing, because there needs to be other perspectives. There needs to be other eyes on your words to make sure that it is polished for the public.
Yeah. As a writer also, that is the hard part when you're also an editor. It's very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like as an editor, though, I spend a lot of time telling authors, like, we got to tighten this up. This isn't necessary. And I appreciate that perspective also, that, you say like, oh, I just want to include this. I just want to include this. I just want to.
Right.
Because you never know what's going to be that one piece that resonates with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it makes me think, you know what? I want to say this, Jodi, my friend, shout out to Julia. She told me when I was writing my first book, she said, this is a lot of story and a lot of words in one book. She said, perhaps you can save some, maybe for a future project.
Yes.
And that was also, I didn't mention that before, but that was also a bit of advice that helped me look into writing another book. So maybe those who are listening, if you are, having a hard time breaking away with your words and, parting with some of your message, think about the future. Think about another book. It may not be all for one book. It may be for another book, a workshop series, or maybe a coaching program, et cetera. Like, it doesn't have to go in one project. The beauty of editing is that you can have multiple projects. So but it's hard. It is hard.
Yeah, very. I agree. I also love the idea, though, that you said of it's not easy, but it's simple, because I think those are words that get confused and conflated a lot. And there's the understanding the difference there, I think just will save people a lot of headache. Honestly.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Did book fluence evolve at all, like throughout the process, or once you had yourself pretty dialed in at that point and knew what you wanted to do, or did the project evolve at all?
It did evolve. And thank you for bringing that up, because it actually started as a book titled How to Write Your First Book. As you can tell, I'm very creative with titles. Very on the nose there. How to Write Your First Book. So it started as that. It was the same type of framework, but it was titled differently, or the framework itself was titled differently. And once I was surrounded by more educational, professionals, and not only just teachers, but those who worked in the school district, now professors, consultants. I've gone to more education-based conferences and things. I said, okay, these are not only just aspiring authors, but these are also leaders. Even as a teacher, you are a leader. As a consultant, you are a leader. You're leading your clients. You're leading students. So again, back to that word language, I changed the language. I said, okay, Nailah, How to Write Your First Book is great, but also with the spaces that you are starting to be a part of, especially as a doctoral student, then you need to speak to those that will understand it this way. They understand influence. They understand impact. They understand thought leadership. They understand those buzzwords. So then How to Write Your First Book became book fluence. It still has the same, purpose, but it is how to write a book to position yourself as a leader in your industry. So I've sort of tweaked the message, or not tweaked the message, but tweaked the title. Yeah. And it has evolved in that way.
Yeah. Well, and book fluence is a lot catchier than How to Write Your First Book. It is. I mean, How to Write Your First Book tells you what you're getting, for sure. Yes. But book fluence is very memorable. And that's not always the case with book titles.
Thank you. Yeah. My brother will not let me live this down. I have to give him credit, my goodness, because he did help me with the title. When I was explaining, because as a writer and as an editor, as you may know, sometimes we have big thoughts. And it's like, well, how do you break this down into a small idea? So I was coming to him with these big ideas and big thoughts. And he's like, I keep hearing book and I keep hearing influence. And I was like, yes, exactly. I want to help influencers and educators write an influential book, et cetera. And he's like, okay, but what is the name of your book? And I was like, How to Write Your First Book. He said, no, I keep hearing book and influence. It's just book fluence. And I said, oh.
Okay. All right. Credit to the siblings. All right. I mean, listen, I hate to give my brothers credit for anything, but when you got to do it, you got to do it. That's, okay. Yep.
That's it. That's all
you'll hear about it from him for the rest of your life, but
the rest of my life. But I will give him credit for this.
Yeah. I love it. Fantastic. Oh my gosh. You're right though. You've got to, I mean, I'm going to ask about advice for other writers, but what a great piece of advice to use the language that your audience is using and really meet them where they are, right? Don't make it any harder for yourself than it has to be. So actually, you know what? Let's flip around. Instead of coming back to that, let's just talk about that now, because you've given some nuggets here. I like the easy but simple, meeting the audience where they are. But if for the listeners who are thinking maybe a book is in their future, what advice do you have for them?
I think my biggest advice is to develop a framework in your book, especially if you're a nonfiction author.
Yeah.
And I say this because it's an easy way for consumers, your readers, to sort of like digest your expertise. But it's also a way for you to leverage your expertise, because that same framework that you use in your book can be used for future coaching programs. It can be used for workshops. It can be used for your signature talks. It can be used for so many things. And it starts with the book. I tell my clients that I'm like, just include a framework, outline your steps to achieving a goal, and have it in a way, position it in a way to where it is, easy to understand, and then go from there. I think that is the biggest advice that I can give, because it also will help you write your book, because you'll be thinking of your framework the entire time.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree with that more. And when I was writing my book, I was doing that, and it was giving me even more clarity in my own framework that I already thought was so clear and was using successfully. But as I was tweaking little tiny things as I was writing my book, because it really makes you think about every little piece.
Yep.
So what a great exercise to go through the writing 50,000 words. But you're right though. And then you can use it in all of these other ways. So let's talk about some of the ways you're using it. I mean, clearly you're using it in your business. So tell us a couple cool things that have happened, whether it's, speaking engagements or connections that you've made. That's the part where a lot of my clients get hung up. They're like, I know this is a good thing for my business, but give me some black and white examples of how, it really is, I can use it.
Yes. I think the coolest achievement for me is being mentioned in the New York Times.
Not too
that
shabby.
Was major. I mean, not too shabby.
Yeah. No.
Just a little bitty periodical.
I know if you've heard of it.
Exactly. That was major for me. And that came about because I would market my book on social media. And I love that you have Write, Publish, Market, because the marketing part of it, we cannot neglect that. So I would market my book on social media. This was back in the day. I still market it, but the New York Times mention was in 2019, I believe. And I was marketing heavily. Yeah. And one of my colleagues saw my book and she said, "Oh my God, this is amazing." She said, "Would you like to do an interview with me she didn't tell me what it was for, the title of the periodical. She said, "Just for a newspaper." And I said, "Okay," because I'm still in the mode of marketing. Yeah. Lo and behold, she sends me the article and she's like, "Do you approve?" And I'm like, "Yes." She said, "Awesome. So your work will be mentioned in the New York Times." And I said, "Wait, what?" What? So I didn't have to pitch, I didn't have to, not that there's anything wrong with that, because I pitch a lot of my opportunities, but for this one, I didn't have to pitch. I didn't have to send emails or anything. It came easily because I was marketing my book. So that was, oh my God, one of the highest accolades. And from that, of course, I've gained clients and social media following or community. And again, the framework in my book has also led me to tweak my business, refine my business, because I was always editing books for clients. But now I have a coaching program. So it has been the beginning really of expanding my influence. I'm not only an author, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm also a business owner. And a lot of that is because of my book. I'll be honest. It really is. My book has brought me here.
Yeah. At the beginning of expanding your influence. I love that. What a great way to look at it. No matter what the opportunity is. I mean, and the New York Times is a pretty mic drop moment. Let's be real. But
I mean,
that's all right. But that, what a great way to think about a book, the beginning of expanding your influence. I love that so much.
Thank you. And if I can add to that, I know a lot of people think that writing a book is okay, this is a big opportunity or a big, a big goal. And that's the end. Once I write my book, then it's wow, I accomplished the goal. And that is the end of all of my hard work. And to that point, I say, no, this is the beginning. Yeah. If you choose to, leverage it in this way, this is just the beginning. And it's not to look at it as, oh my gosh, there's more work ahead of me. No, there's more opportunity ahead of you. There is more influence ahead of you. There's more impact ahead of you. So don't think of it as just a goal to cross off your list. No, it's a goal to help you with other goals.
Yeah. That mindset piece at the end is huge because the people who end up disappointed in the book are the people who don't do that. They check it off their list. Oh, I wrote a book and nothing happened. Well, because you're not viewing it in the way that you should be viewing it and using it in the way that you should be using it to allow those opportunities to come your way. Oh my gosh. I have loved every second of this conversation. It's so good. This was so helpful. I know for so many listeners. I don't let anyone leave the podcast though without a book recommendation. We're book people, so I know we have book recommendations. So
yes,
give me something that you either read recently and loved or that you're reading now and loved. What you got?
Okay. So I am sure a lot of your listeners are familiar with Atomic Habits. I reread that in the past couple of months. And I love that book. I really,
That's a reread, annual reread for me too. Yep.
Right? So yes, I'm definitely going to always advise that book. Yep. But speaking of business, I'm starting to, make sure that I have all my business practices up to par and just making sure that I'm doing things as, as professional as can be. And that's starting with my money. So I'm reading a lot of financial books. And the book that is currently on my nightstand is Get Good with Money by Tiffany Aliche. She's otherwise known as the Budgetnista on social media. And yes, that is helping me really, crack down on my money goals, especially before the new year. So I'm enjoying that book.
Okay. I am not familiar with that one. I love a good financial read also. So
yes.
I'm going to check that out. Okay. I have heard of that. I have heard on this from the social media side. I've heard of her, but I've not read that book. So I'm going to add that to my list. My ever growing,
it's really good.
Always growing. Yeah. Yeah. It's I feel like there aren't a lot of, there's more, but there aren't still a ton. It doesn't seem so saturated, that piece of the market for entrepreneurs, the financial advice piece by written by someone other than, like stuffy, like old white men in suits at like a financial advisor firm.
Exactly.
Which, so, okay. I'm going to check that out. All right.
Yes.
We're going to include your book in the show notes, but tell listeners where's the best place for them to connect with you.
Yes, the best place to connect with me is on my website at nharv.com. That's N as in Nailah, HARV as in Victor, nharv.com. And there you will actually see the digital copy or digital version of my book, which I love because it's a workbook. So you can actually type in your answers and it helps you get to your book much faster. It's a jump starting to your book. And that's at nharv.com/bookfluence, BOOKFLUENCE. And then on social media, I love talking to people on social media. I'm all across the board at nharv.com. That's NHARVDOTCOM. And if you're into YouTube, you like to see videos of writers around town and traveling and doing things that writers do, then I invite you to join or to subscribe to my YouTube channel, n.harv. As you can see, everything is pretty much streamlined because I'm so creative with naming.
No, listen, that consistency is good. Consistency is good. We're going to link all the ways to find you down below. And yes, check out the YouTube because I love the vlogs. I love the day. Yep. I'm a watcher.
Why, thank
also,
you.
You know what I'm not good about is commenting for engagement numbers. So I'm going to get better. That's my promise to you. I'm going to get better at doing that.
I would really appreciate that. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. So if I can get there by the end of this year, 2024, that would be great.
Yes, that would be great. Yes. All right. I'm going to do my part.
Yeah.
This was a fantastic discussion. I'm so happy. Like we were saying before we hit record, we were saying that we've, followed each other for a while, but this is the first time that we've really met. And this was a delight, as I knew it would be.
I agree. I'm so happy. I just appreciate you and thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to speak to your audience.
Oh my gosh. I know that so many people, I hope everyone was taking lots of notes. I can't wait to go back and listen so I can take some notes too. So Thank you. This was great.
Thank you and have a good day.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Write, Publish, Market podcast. I know just how busy business owners and CEOs' schedules are, and I'm grateful you've taken some time out of yours to spend with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, take a quick screenshot and share it on social to let others know you're listening. Use the hashtag WritePublishMarket to spread the love.